Y'all, we have 23 Colourpop palettes to rank today. Yes, you heard me correct. 23 palettes. So if you want to see where they come at the ranking, then definitely keep on watching. Hello, my wonderful friends. Welcome back or welcome to my channel if you are new here. My name's Elena. I love all things makeup and beauty. And as you've seen in the intro, we have 23 palettes to rank today. Yes, 23. That is quite a bit. I did this ranking last year with my Colourpop palettes, and I only had 15. Since then, I have accumulated 8 more palettes. So I thought, let's do this again. Let's do a refresh. What my real thoughts are, okay? This is going to be a long one, so please grab a drink, please grab a snack, get comfy, okay? And also, I am not going to be saying the number, okay? I'm just going to be putting them on the screen because I will end up forgetting where I'm at, okay? And for the last place palette is Twist the Slate. And you are probably like, Elena, haven't you decluttered this 3 times? Yes, I have decluttered this palette 3 times. It keeps ending back in my collection, and I don't know why. The first excuse was, oh, I just want to use it again. Oh, I'm going to depot it. And now it's in here because I do a full face of makeup. If you do not know, my Instagram is linked down below. Do a full face from here to here. And I use this palette for that. Now, the mattes, the reason why I don't like this palette is because of the mattes. The mattes are not good. Patchy, unblendable, just not good. Shimmers are okay. But I use this for a full face and I actually enjoyed it. Yeah, I know, that's really, really weird, right? Like, it doesn't work on your eyes, but it works on my face. So that's why it's at last place. But I'm gonna still have it in my collection, okay? When the declutter happens in November/December, I don't know when yet, this will be ending up back in my collection for a full face of makeup, okay? Now, the palettes here on out are really good quality. It just comes down to color story preference. It comes down to how much I've used it, etc., okay? And the next palette is Clear the Air. And this is in a collection called the Extra Celestial Collection. There are 2 other palettes. And this one just comes down to color story, okay? I'm not much of a coral person. You see that beautiful curl right there? Yeah, I'm not much of a fan, okay? I wish I could be, but I'm just not. I don't think it looks good on my eyes. Now, there are some Super Shocks in here that are absolutely stunning, okay? If I had to really, really rank this palette, I give it an 8 out of 10. The 2 points that are missing is because of color story, but the quality of this is so good, okay? It's really, really good, just color story. And that is also with the next palette, which is Nude Mood. And it's a neutral palette, okay? If you know me, I love my colors, okay? I love colors so, so much, and this is just too neutral for me. But it is really good neutral palettes. And I actually have some neutral palettes ranked up higher, surprisingly. But this one, it's just the color story. The quality really, really nice. Just the color story for me. It's not my favorite. But I will definitely have this place in I have this a place in my special heart because I was gifted this palette from my best friend, Danielle. So I hate to put it at where it's at because of that, but I have to be truthful here with you guys, okay? I have to be truthful. It's just coming out where it's at because of color story. Next, we have Clearly in Love, and this one is also color story preference. It's more of a neutral palette. Yes, there is a pop of pink, but those type of pinks I don't like wearing. Reason being is because I don't think they look good on me. I don't wear reds. I don't wear bright pinks like this ever because they just don't look good, okay? They don't look good. But let me tell you, the Super Shocks in here are fantastic, okay? I love Colourpop Super Shocks.
It's just Color Story. And then the next palette is in collaboration with Marielle, and it's called Control Alt Glam. And the color story of this is really, really pretty, okay? Super, super stunning. It's coming out where it's at because the collaborator I no longer support anymore. And I have my reasons I'm not going to share just because you don't need to know. But it is because of collaborator, and I don't want to put this palette any higher than it has to be. Okay, I love the color story though. And when I first got this palette, which was last year, I really, really loved it. I did support the collaborator at the time, but I no longer support her, okay? Unfortunately, that happens to all of us, okay? We love a collaborator, then we don't support them, okay? It happens. You know, okay? But it's only coming out where it's at just because of collaborator. And it's not like I hate the collaborator either. It's just because, like I said, some of the things I don't agree with, okay? Now, the next palette is On a Whimsy. And this one is absolutely gorgeous, okay? It's just coming out where it's at because it is more of a neutral palette. We do have a pop of blue. And I find the blue very, very stunning. I find it absolutely amazing, okay? But as I said, none of the palettes from here on out are bad quality. It just comes down to color story, and that's where this is at. It's because of color story preference, okay? Now, this is probably one of my older palettes that I have in my collection, and this will have another special place in my heart, not because it was gifted, but because this was like one of the first Colourpop palettes that I purchased, as well as like along with other ones. But this one, it just really has a special place, okay? Now, it's at where it's at because of color story, okay? Next, we have Mauvin Up. And this is a Target exclusive palette. And this one is very beautiful. If you know me, I love a good mauve tone palette. It's only at where it's at because I have not used this palette as much, and it's color story for me again, okay? It's color story. I hate to put it where it's at because I did use this for my birthday, with my birthday money, and I really do enjoy this palette. Don't get me wrong, but I just not have used this enough to really put my final thoughts on it. I have used it quite a bit, but it has been a while, and I just don't remember what I think of it. And probably because I have a lot of palettes to use, and this one just kind of got in the dust. And I hate to say that, but it has. And that's what some of the palettes also is, that I have not used it for a long time, so I don't remember my final thoughts on it. Now, I do know it's a good quality, okay? But unfortunately, that happens. You accumulate a lot of palettes. I do apologize. I'm just putting the palettes somewhere else so I can rest my legs. But that just happens, you know? It happens to all of us. We just accumulate a lot of palettes. And when you do that, just some of them have to go, you know, down in the ranking, okay? And that is with this palette also. It's Set in Stone. And this one's absolutely gorgeous. And it is a neutral palette. I told you, a neutral palette is going to be a little higher than the other one. And it's because the quality of this is super, super good. But I have not used this palette in a hot minute, okay? I think it deserves more love than I have given it. And it's sad to say. But it's just collecting dust. I've accumulated so many palettes. And that's why it's at where it's at, okay? Not a bad palette. And I think it's still available. I don't quite remember. I have not been on the Colourpop website for a long time. But if it is still available, I would highly recommend this palette if you are a beginner in makeup. It is very beginner friendly. It's very workable. It is a neutral palette. And I really enjoy the palette. I really, really do. Okay. Next we have is Cello. And this one is absolutely stunning. Now, I've been wanting this palette for a very, very long time. Unfortunately, it did get discontinued, so I didn't get my hands on it. But my best friend, Danielle, did give me this. And it's absolutely beautiful. Now, it's only coming out where it's at because I have not used it enough to put my final thoughts on it. But I will say, I do love it so far. Okay? So far, I really, really do love it. Not a bad palette at all. Very, very blessed that I have this palette. And thank you, Danielle. There are a lot of palettes in here that are gifted from her. Yeah, gifted from her. And I really appreciate it. And this was one that I was so happy about. And I'm still happy. As I said, I just not have used this enough to put my final thoughts on it. So that's where it's coming at, where it's at. Okay. The next one is Clay It Cool. And this one is so beautiful. Now, as you said, I don't like peachy tone colors. But this is a peachy tone color with a twist, okay? It is beautiful. And I really, really like this palette, okay? I really, really do. And I made a stunning look with this. But it's only at where it's at because of color story preference. But here's the weird thing. It just looked really good on me. Okay, I don't know why it's really at where it's at, to be honest. I just kind of went through all my Colourpop palettes, spread them all over the place, and kind of just put at where I was feeling that day. Okay? And that was yesterday. So my preferences could change today. It's at where it's at because of yesterday. Okay? But I really love this palette. I really do. Really, really good palette. I would also suggest this palette if you're starting out with makeup. But yeah. Now, the next palette we have is the Child palette. And this is in collaboration with the Mandalorian. And if you know, you know. If you know, you know why it's where it's at. Okay? I love this palette. I've been wanting it for a super long time. I finally got it last year. And unfortunately, it came in broken. Okay? Now, yes, I was able to repress the shimmers back. But they just don't perform well. Like, they perform okay, but they don't perform good. And it's probably because they broke and I had to repress it, and I'm not the best at repressing. Okay, so it could be my fault. It's my fault, probably. But if you know, you know. Okay? That's the reason why. Otherwise, the palette, super beautiful. And I love this palette so much. Also, my next Colourpop video is going to be in collaboration with Danielle. It's going to be a palette bingo, and I have got to film that. I've been putting it off, and I apologize, Danielle. If you're watching this, it will happen. Don't worry. The collaboration will happen. I've been busy. If you know, I'm getting married. Getting married very, very soon. Like in 7 days. Like a week from today. So I've been really, really busy with that. So yes. But the next palette we have is Coast is Clear. And this is the last one in that Extra Celestial collection. And let me tell you though, this is gorgeous. And okay, so the palettes from here on out are super hard. They were super hard to rank, okay? I kept going back and forth, okay? I just love this palette so much, and it's where it's at because maybe Color Story. It's probably Color Story, probably because I have not used it. No, actually, I lied. I have used it quite recently for a wear test for Pan That Palette, which I am still doing that series. Like I said, I have been busy with wedding stuff, so I have not been able to really use my makeup, really use it. I have used my makeup since the Pan the palette. And I've panned some pans. But it's because I've been busy. And that's probably why it's at where it's at, is because I have not used it enough. Used it recently, but not have used it enough. So yes, that's where it's at. Now, the next palette we have is the Stalwarts palette. And I love this palette so much. If you know me, I love Stalwarts, okay? And we have a really cute packaging with this. So I'm just going to show you the whole packaging. We have this one. Then we have the Color Story. And the Color Story is very beautiful. It's at where it's at because it is more of a neutral palette with a pop of color. Okay? And also, I did find that the formula of one shade was not the best in here. It was very hard panned or hard pressed, in my opinion. And then another shade did not come out as it was in the pan. And it is that burgundy shade. You see that burgundy shade? Yeah, that did not come out burgundy on the eyes. So that's where it's at. Otherwise, this palette, super beautiful. Oh my goodness. I've totally forgot to mention. This silver in here. Yeah, you see that silver? Ooh, let me tell you, that is a really good silver, okay? And now, the next palette we have, and it is the first mega palette in this ranking. It's the Your Golden palette. And I'm pretty sure this one was very high last year. Was ranked high last year. But as I said, since then, I have accumulated 8 more palettes. And I really, really love this palette, okay? It's only coming out where it's at because it is a neutral palette, but it is a really nice neutral palette, okay? And as I said, yesterday was yesterday, okay? Today, I could change my preferences. But it's where it's at, probably because of yesterday, to be honest. I don't really have an excuse of where it's at right now. But, yes. Next palette we have is Fresh Greens. And I'm trying to go as fast as I can, y'all, because I don't want this video to be long, okay? But this palette is also another Target exclusive palette. And it's absolutely stunning. I really, really love this palette. It is a green palette, and if you know me, I love my greens so much. And as I said, from here on out, the ranking is so hard, okay? And let me tell you, though, I did buy this on my birthday, and I am super glad I have it, okay? I've used the heck out of this. You may not seem like I've used the heck out of this, but there are quite a bit of big dips in here. But as I said, it's just color. It's not color story, because I love the color. It's probably because of usage. It's usage, okay? That's why it's at where it's at. Next palette we have is the Tide palette. And this was probably one of my first Colourpop palettes that I've ever purchased. And it's just absolutely stunning. You see, it's blue. I love my blues. It's at where it's at because the other ones are just a little better, okay? Color story preference and how much I've used it. And I have used quite a bit of this palette, but I've not used it enough, okay? It needs some more love. It has collected dust, and I'm really ashamed of that, but it's a beautiful palette. And if you're starting out with makeup and you want a good blue palette, I would recommend this palette because it's really easy to work with, okay? Very easy to work with. Next palette is Sage the Day, and if you know me, and if you know that this palette was up there last year, probably my number 2 or number 1. I don't remember which palette it was, where it was at last year. But I have used the heck out of this palette, okay? I do have a big dip in this right here. This shade, oh yeah, it's going to be hitting pan pretty soon. It's at where it's at because the other palettes are just, I just have more of a special place with them in my heart. And yes, this one has a special place too because I love using this palette and I've used the heck out of this palette, okay? It just was so hard, okay? And like I said, I did this yesterday, okay? It could change today. But this palette is absolutely stunning, okay? Would definitely recommend this palette. Next palette is Sweet as Can Be from Winnie the Pooh. And this one is gorgeous. And I love Winnie the Pooh, so I'm a little biased when it comes to this ranking. I really ranked it just because of that. But I really do love the color story, and I love the quality of this, okay? We have a beautiful blue in here, as you can see. And the quality is just really, really nice. Now, at first, I did not like the palette when I first used it. But ever since I've used it since, I have liked it. And it's ranking at where it's at because it is Winnie the Pooh, okay? I'm a sucker for Winnie the Pooh. You know, it's going to happen. It's going to happen, you guys. You know, some people are biased, okay? I'm not much of a biased person. But Winnie the Pooh was my childhood, okay? Was my childhood, so that's where it's at. Now, what is on my eyes today is in the Limelight palette. And this one was gifted to me. And this one's absolutely gorgeous. I'm in love with this palette. And I've only used this once, and that was today. But I knew, ranking this yesterday, that it was going to be a good palette, okay? I've heard really, really good things. Now, I will tell you, though. I will tell you. This was a little hard to work with. And I don't know why it was hard to work with. It just took me a while to make this makeup look. to make it look perfect, at least. You know, you could make a makeup look and it'd be fine, but I'm a perfectionist, so I like to make my makeup looks look perfect. And it was a little hard to do that with this palette. But when I finally made the look and it came together, I was in love. In love. So that's where it's at. Next, we have the Mandalorian palette. And this is what the palette looks like. And if you know, you know. I love this palette so much. It's my favorite neutral palette in my whole entire collection. Well, it was, but I have accumulated palettes, neutral palettes that maybe are a little bit better. Just a wee better. But this is amazing quality. And I love a grungy tone color story, okay? I love grungy tones. And I love Star Wars also. And I love the Mandalorian. And it's just really represents it. Really, really nice, to be honest. So yeah, that's where it's at. Next palette is Daisy Does It. And this palette's really, really nice. And this was my favorite palette, okay? It was my favorite palette. But the last two palettes after this one are my favorite now. Okay, unfortunately, because I have used the heck out of this, okay? It's a neutral palette, but it's a very beautiful neutral palette, okay? My favorite look that I made was with this palette. So that's why it's at where it's at. The quality of it, outstanding. This was so slept on, I believe. And you can't get it anymore, unfortunately. And I wish it was still in the Colourpop line, but it's not, okay? And I'm not going to talk much about it. You've heard me talk about this palette a bunch of times, but this one just has a special place in my heart because, one, formula, two, the look I made was my favorite look I've ever made. So yeah. Now, the next palette is the newest palette from Colourpop, and it is the Stranger Things palette. And this one, I thought it was going to be number one because I've actually used this. Oh my goodness. I just put that upside down. But you know what? Hey, that is cool. You know why? Because it is up the upside down. You see? This is upside down. If you know, you know. If you know Stranger Things, you know about the reference that I just told you. So, hey, it's all okay. And I thought this was going to be number one because I have used this 3 times since. Yes, 3 times, and I've just got it a week ago. Yeah, I know. Weird. But not weird because I knew I was going to love it. I love Stranger Things so, so much. I'm actually rewatching it right now because season 5 is about to begin or happen or release in 2025, early 2025. Fingers crossed, we hope. So I'm rewatching it to get the vibe again, but I love Stranger Things so much, and it is another bias thing. But it's not a bias thing because the quality of this is actually really, really good. And the color story is beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. It is a grungy tone color story, and I love grungy tones. You just saw. I love the Mandalorian palette because it's grungy. This is grungy. Now, we have the Hawkins color story. Then we have the Upside Down color story. And it's just beautiful, okay? It's just beautiful. And I could talk about this all day. I'm not going to because if I did, we would be here forever, okay? Ooh. We got some palettes falling down. And at number 1, and I don't think this really comes to a surprise to anybody, to be honest, but it is. You ready? The Nude Mood palette. Oh, it's a nude. It's a mood palette. My apologies, y'all. I was so excited that I forgot the title. Forgot what it was called. I'm going to say it again. If you know, you know. I've been wanting this palette so freaking long, okay? Finally got my hands on it, and I am so happy I did. It was gifted by Danielle, and this did not disappoint, okay? This did not disappoint whatsoever at all. I am so glad I have this, okay? And if you know, I love a good grungy tone story, color story, but I also love a good jeweled color story. And if I were to collaborate with anybody, the color story that I would pick would be similar to this color story that we have in this palette, okay? We have the greens, we have the blues, we have the purples, we have everything in here, okay? We have everything in here that I've always wanted. And this palette did not disappoint, okay? I'm so happy I have this palette. And I'm just so thankful for Danielle too, okay? But you guys, that is it. I'm hoping it wasn't too long of a video. I try to make it as short as I can. But if you guys enjoy the video, please don't forget to leave a thumbs up. It really helps. Don't forget to subscribe. Till then, you guys, I will be back with a lot more makeup content. You guys, it is October. So I'm going to try to make a lot more content than I have in the past. But you guys, stay healthy, stay beautiful, stay safe, okay? Bye.